Matthew's Gospel, chapter 9 and verses 12 and 13. Jesus said, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have come to call not the righteous, but sinners." Dear friends, could I say, first of all, what a great joy it is to be back in St. Stephen's Ridgefield, where Rebecca and I have such happy memories of our visit here nearly 9 years ago, when we had some beautiful evenings. Those of you who can remember and were there at the time, beautiful evenings thinking about, well, what we're thinking about this morning. What does it mean to know and to follow Jesus and to receive the medicine of the gospel? And let me start by making this absolutely clear. You know, just the other day, somebody said to me, "Oh, the church, it's full of hypocrites." To which I replied, "Yes, and there's room for one more." Come and join us. We don't pretend to be anything else but sinners taking the cure. We are the ones who know our need of God. And that, I guess, is why we're here this morning. I want to thank Whitney. I thought maybe Whitney had nicked out for a coffee or something. Which I wouldn't blame her. I gather Father Frank was good last week, so I'm feeling the pressure. I want to thank Whitney and Michael and indeed Millie for their fabulous hospitality. How blessed you are to have them here with you at St. Stephen's. In 1940, a Swiss Lutheran pastor by the name of Roger Schutz formed a small community in a village called Taizé in Burgundy in France, which at the time was just the other side of the boundary marking unoccupied France from occupied Nazi France. He and his sister hid Jewish and Christian refugees, helping them to make safe passage into neutral Switzerland. In 1944, following the liberation of France, with a few other brothers joining him, this little community became the ecumenical and international religious community of Taizé, which some of you, I don't know whether Taizé is known about in the US, you might know about the chant, the singing, the Taizé. Do you sing any of this?
Yes.
You do. That's good. I'm just looking to the choir for a bit of moral support. That's where it comes from, this community in France. As the war was ending, Brother Roger, as he was now known, saw very clearly that the great sickness facing the whole human race was our lack of reconciliation one to another. So evident in the horrors of Nazism, but if we're honest, ever present in the human heart, that desire to count some in and count others out, that desire to build bridges of post-centuries, to build walls of separation. And what he reckoned is that we needed as a human race to find ways of acknowledging our common humanity, that we really were one humanity inhabiting one world, and if there was ever going to be lasting peace, reconciliation. You know, the great message and theme of the Christian faith, Jesus saying that we are called to be ministers of his reconciliation. This was the great task. And interestingly, yesterday afternoon, Michael and Whitney took us out to the Roosevelt House in Hyde Park on the Hudson River, which was, if you've not been there, I can recommend it. It was a wonderful afternoon out. And what really moved me going around the museum was catching hold of Roosevelt's very similar vision emerging at exactly the same time. During the worst horrors of the Second World War, across the world, there were women and men, and what was growing within them was an international vision for peace. And that international vision for peace was rooted in the acknowledging of our common humanity and the desire to secure certain freedoms. I read again Roosevelt's 4 pledges, and I tell you, I was deeply moved to read them. Oh, how our whole world needs to be reminded of these things. The freedom of speech, the freedom to worship, freedom from want, freedom from fear. But I tell you what moved me most as I read them yesterday was after each one, it said freedom of speech, freedom to worship, freedom from want for every person, everywhere, in the whole world. What a vision. What a vision to unite us as one humanity. What a vision that comes from our faith in Jesus Christ, in whom there is a new humanity where all the other divisions are done away with, reconfigured in Christ. There is no male and female, slave nor free, Jew nor Greek, US nor UK, and all the other divisions we love to build. Brother Roger began this by saying we need to put the Christian house in order. We need as Christians to face up to our own scandalous divisions. And his lifetime's work and the community he founded soon started to draw literally thousands and thousands of young people from all across Europe and from the US, as it still does today. I was there last summer with young people from Europe. Rebecca and I first visited Taizé in 1991. We were on holiday in France with our then 2-year-old oldest son. We were passing through Burgundy on our way home and realised, we're quite near this place, Taizé. Let's go and visit. And we stopped and joined in the thousands of young people worshipping that evening. When the service ended, you'll be relieved to hear we're not introducing this at St. Stephen's Ridgefield, but at Taizé, the worship never really ends. So like it starts at 10 o'clock. What time does it finish? It rather depends on me, doesn't it? I thought you'd enjoy a nice long sermon. So hold on to you. So the service ends at 11:15, something like that. It ends. But in Taizé, you know it begins, you kind of know it ends, only it doesn't end. It kind of overflows. And that's where all the beautiful singing comes in. It overflows into this. Sometimes there's hundreds of young people still there at midnight singing these beautiful chants. Anyway, we were there. When the service ended, Brother Roger and the other brothers of the community, they come and stand around the periphery of this vast congregation. And they're there if anybody wants to talk with them or receive a blessing from them or get them to pray with them. And where we were sitting at the back, like you do if you've got a kind of fidgety, noisy 2-year-old, we're sitting right at the back. And Brother Roger comes and stands 10 feet away from us. One of the great Christian leaders, one of the great holy people of the 20th century, he's just there. And as soon as he came and stood there, loads of people crowd round him because they do want to talk to him. They do want to receive his blessing. they want him to pray for them. Oh, but I didn't want them to. I sat there with him just a few feet away from him. And I had this overwhelming desire just to reach out and touch him. Why? Even the hem of his garment. Because I felt like I'd never really experienced before that I was in the presence of beautiful, radical, compelling holiness. There was like a translucence to him, a kind of inner light, a kind of magnetic field of beautiful, beautiful goodness and godliness. And I felt that if I could maybe just reach out and touch him, then something of his holiness and closeness to God would pass to me, like electricity. And in that moment, of course, today's gospel reading became very, very real. The woman who's been suffering so much for so long, she reaches out and she just touches the hem of Jesus' garment. Of course, actually that, as you may know, that was an act of kindness. Because according to the religious customs and understanding of that day, her illness made her ritually unclean, and if she touched somebody, her uncleanness would pass to them. It cannot be, obviously, that way with Jesus. We cannot pass any of our uncleanness to Jesus. Oh, but he can pass his goodness and healing to us. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that Brother Roger isn't Jesus. But what I saw in him was a closeness to Jesus that shone out. And I don't mind telling you, I wanted that. I wanted that for me, and brothers and sisters, I want it for you, because I kind of think it's the only hope for our world. The goodness, the beauty that we see in Jesus that can be alive in us. Not because Brother Roger is better than me, or God loves him more than me, but because he in his life had done what that woman did in her life. He had so reached out to Jesus, that Jesus had so reached out to him, that the love and the goodness and the beauty and the healing of Jesus was evident in him. And I love in the story how Jesus notices the woman's touch. Isn't that, in some way, the most beautiful bit of the story? You see, the disciples who then kind of say to Jesus, are you having a laugh? Who touched you? There's a great crowd around you. Who touched you? But you see, the disciples can only see crowds. They are, therefore, incredulous that Jesus would even suggest that the touch of one person can be distinguished from the touch of another. But I think maybe I've discovered something that Jesus can't do. I mean, we're putting it that way. I've discovered something Jesus can't do. He can't see crowds. He can only see individuals. And I want you to know that therefore he feels each touch. He hears each whisper. He knows each heart. And that is what I kind of learned simply sitting there, looking and beholding such a beautiful, holy man. And I believe that amid all the confusions and hurts and divisions and uncertainties of this world, these are the two things we need. We need, first of all, an international, ecumenical vision of what it is to be human, a common humanity, redeemed and made new in Jesus Christ, which binds us together across all other boundaries and divisions. And secondly, in order to receive and live by this vision, we need to reach out to Jesus. And let's be honest, even for those of us who follow him, who know him, who are here this morning, even, let's be clear, for me, this isn't easy. Pride and hubris hold us back. The dazzling snares and temptations of the world sometimes, often offer what appear to be far brighter lights. I'm suggesting you make a change to your church building, by the way. Something for the best you can discuss in the next meeting. I came into your lovely church again after 9 years, and I see this up there, the Jesus' summary of the law and the prophets, and then I see over here the Beatitudes, but you've only got half the Beatitudes. There's just half of them up there. So I want to finish by reminding you of the first Beatitude, which I think is the gateway into all the others and into everything I've been seeking to share with you this morning. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I don't know where you are with God. I don't know what your vision is for the Christian life and for our world. I know that it's very tempting right now in our world at the moment to hunker down, pull up the drawbridge, and just hope it all goes away, or that it'll be okay for us. I know that. But people like Roosevelt and people like Brother Roger of Taizé, and there are many others who experienced the horrors of the Second World War, emerged from it with a wonderful vision of peace that I think we need to recover. And that vision comes directly from what we know and receive in Jesus. And therefore, when we reach out to him, however tentatively, however cautiously, and especially when there is need and sadness in our lives, he will see us. He will know our touch. He will speak to our hearts. Oh, blessed are the poor in spirit. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven, which I think means simply this. Blessed are those who know their need of God. Blessed are those who are not self-sufficient. Blessed are those who don't just want the world their way. Blessed are those who know that they need resources outside themselves. Let me finish where I begin. Blessed are the hypocrites who know that they are sinners in need of God's grace. Blessed are those who are poor in themselves, but rich in the mercy of God. Blessed are those who know they need a doctor. God will heal. That's what I saw in Brother Roger, and what I have seen in many other inspiring Christian leaders and leaders whose vision has been shaped by Christian faith. I saw in them where the light came from. I want it for myself, and I want it for you. It is the only